So I am here with the man himself behind Russell Perks MMA. It's Russell Perks. How we doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right, mate. Yeah. Another. What should be a quiet, steady Sunday is turning out to be a busy day, mate.
So talk us how you came up with the name. Russell Perks
Uh,
MMA. Sleepless
well, you know
nights, was
what?
it?
Yeah, funny enough, I used to, when I first started teaching, I used to run it underneath. I just used to teach Taekwondo many years ago, and it was called, ironically, for the town that I live in, was called Kidderminster Taekwondo. Original name yet again. Um, and I kind of brandished myself up that we wanted to obviously take our academy to another level, and I wanted to start teaching all the other arts that I've been obviously learning in and been training in. And I kind of wanted to come up with a name, and I came up with many different names, believe you me. And I loved all the names in American schools. You know, we came up with names such as Slaughterhouse. We came up with many different names, and I couldn't never really imagine a mother of a 5-year-old bringing their child to my academy called the Slaughterhouse Academy. Although as a fight side of things, or as an individual just wants to learn martial arts as an adult, it would sound pretty cool. So we kind of I bounced so many different names around, and it ended up come up with the idea. So, do you know what? My name around our area kind of carries within martial arts circles, and I thought, well, what better way of doing it? Just put it as Russell Perks Martial Arts Academy and take it that way, and that's it. It's a bit of a tongue twister when you have to put it down as the initials as RPMAA rather than a lot of fight shows put it as Russell Perks Mixed Martial Arts sometimes, but we'll take it. We don't mind.
Here we are. So we're going to sort of jump around timelines here a bit. So what was the main intention behind starting the gym? Because obviously you specified there, it was interesting, you were trying to steer away from the sort of fighter profile almost, and keep it more of a family, more, I don't know, wider audience. What was your main sort of preference regards to starting this? What you wanted to do?
Yeah, we kind of started out really, like I say, we were a very traditional school to start with. Loved MMA back in the day. And I'm talking probably, what am I looking to think about? Probably 30 years ago now. So 30, I haven't shown my age now, but yeah, about 30 years ago. And really just interested in martial arts. I was as a kid, and started off traditional background, loved the MMA side of things, loved the other side of martial arts. And we were originally a family-orientated school with just the Taekwondo. And then when we opened up our first academy, which is about 8 years ago now, I brought in the MMA side of things, and I brought other style of martial arts in. And the MMA really blew up for us, to be honest, because there was nothing else in Kidderminster at the time teaching MMA. And it's kind of just, I got so excited with it, and it took off such a rapid pace, and it was so great, and it was so exciting to get guys into fights and their first fights and their amateur stuff. And it really took well. But I've kind of, as a school owner, it's really, really difficult, and I'm sure there are many, many, MMA school owners out there that wanted to turn their teachings of MMA into a full-time job, and that's what my real main goal and intention was. So I had to try and get a good balance between competing and obviously teaching at the same time for all of my students. And that's, we had it, well, I say we did have a student base of just, about 550 active students in one school, in Kidderminster. And it's, due to the current climate situation now, things have changed slightly for us. But, it's, we really try hard to get a good balance, and it is very difficult, So, creating the family environment back again now and putting a bit of focus on that, as well as trying to keep an attention on the fighters as well. It's worked well for me, and I've turned full-time now. 6 years ago, I turned full-time teaching, which is good.
Well, congratulations. And we sort of touched on before, it's about the sort of current climate of things. And amongst everything else, obviously you've got quite a variety of different disciplines you teach, so a wide audience of different people. How's it affected your sort of membership at the minute, regards of the news of all the sort of gyms closing?
Heartbreaking, to be honest. I work 24/7, thinking on it all 24/7, and I'll be honest with you, seeing members cancel, seeing members freeze is absolutely heartbreaking. It really is. We've had today, to the today's date, it's 114 members either freeze their membership or cancel their memberships. And some of those are cancelling due out of fear and shock and, the scaremongering and stuff, which I totally understand and I totally get. Some are cancelling because of financial struggles, which I totally get that. You know, me being a self-employed individual, you know, that I share their same pain, and it
Nothing
really has
personal, yeah.
changed. Yeah, it's really changed the concept of this whole world, not just in martial arts alone. You know, and I think we've gone to, as I know, many martial arts schools have. We've gone virtually now, so we're actually doing just under 50 classes a week virtually, and we do have at times 3 instructors teaching at once, a different variety of classes, and that could be one instructor teaching at the academy at the moment, and then the rest of us are teaching from our homes, either from our garden, from our front rooms, from our living room. You know, it's a bit nuts, mate, to be honest, but you know, as Bruce Lee used to say, you know, you have to adapt with what's given, you know, and that's what we've had to accept here. And it's took me probably a good 6 weeks, definitely, well, 4 to 6 weeks, it's took me to accept that I'm losing members and I'm going to lose members. And what we've got to do is trying to secure and hold on to those ones that we do have and nurture those through, which we're doing a good job of so far. You know, we are doing a lot more than, I think we're doing a lot more than we did when at the academy before. You know, I do a 3 times a week breakfast show for my students. We're doing quizzes, Saturday night quizzes. We're doing also playing a lot of music. So one of my fellow guys who actually teaches music inside my academy as well, he does a lot of gig for us now and then as well for my students. So we've got loads going on, mate. Loads. It's exhausting, but it's good.
I mean, there's so much to touch on there. I mean, when it is your project, your baby, this is your everything, to see the current climate affect it the way it has, from a business perspective, you could put your business hat on and sort of identify the sort of peaks and troughs and this kind of stuff and how to adapt. But that emotional investment, like putting into it and seeing it decline, not even from your own doing, it's not a case of this is a personal thing on the way you've been doing things, this is out of your control, and then to see this, I mean, I could only imagine, like, the sort of personal effect, because if you, like, my gym, I'm still paying my membership or whatever, but if I was to cancel that, that is just, for me, I've not got the same, what do you call it, it's not my project, it's not my baby as such, whereas from your point of view, being the actual gym owner, it's not just the gym, it's what your interpretation of everything you wanted, this is your, well, I would say finish a project, but, you know, as you're always developing, it's always a work in progress. But, for example, finished project, because it's, you know, up and running. So, yeah, how do you find switching between the two, in the sense of it being your business versus your baby as such?
Really heartbreaking. Firstly, I would say, number one, congratulations to you for supporting your gym. You. I will say that, you know, because, you know, I know many people out there that have the intentions to do that and some that don't, you know, but one thing I would really say to every martial arts school owner out there, to be honest, you know, that they must be appreciating every student that's supporting them through this and carrying on their membership, whether they're a furloughed member, staff member, or whether they're getting paid full, whatever their financial situation. For those people who are supporting their gyms, good on you and well done to you, because, you know, a big thing in this, you know, the balance between, you know, the balance between being my baby and being a business is they're both kind of equals for me, you know, in that sense. You know, I've got so much passion for the place and so much drive, and, you know, I always develop this, and we have so many people, and your gym's probably just the same, you know, and everybody else's is the same, is that they always say, I'm going to cancel, but I'll be back. And you've got to understand, if 100 people do that and you've only got 150 members, they might not have a place to come back to. And the people that are going to be gutted the most are going to be those individuals, you know. And you've got to look at a gym or a martial arts school, whatever that's going to be, is, you know, it's, I'm sure you will agree with this. If you have a bad day at work and you may not feel like going to the gym or just go and train and punch somebody in the face or go and hit some pads, how good do you feel after you've been there?
It's a different world, isn't it?
You totally, you know, and it becomes a therapy. It becomes a way to balance people's mental health. It's an escapism. It's an activity. It's a hobby. It's a profession for some people, you know. And for me, seeing my business, I started using this phrase to start with, yeah, seeing my business crumble, you know, once we got told to shut on the 20th of March was absolutely just devastating. I was probably the most rock bottom I've ever been, other than when I lost my mum and my dad. You know, that's how hard it was for me. And, but then also as well, seeing my baby there, I still want to clutch my fingers into it, hold on to it, and still think, right, I'm not letting this thing go, and that's what I've embraced very well with from my instructors, from my members, from parents as well, from that have just said, look, this is too powerful to let go. We've got to hold on to this. And there's no doubt every martial arts school up and down the country that have got great members, that have got good support, such as your place as well. As BST, you've got what you need. Everyone's holding on to it and everyone's supporting it. So it's a real tough game out at the moment, and especially this evening. We're expecting, obviously, announcements this evening, aren't we? So let's hope for good news this evening, but see what happens there.
Squeaky bum time, isn't it? I mean, this is where it gets...
mate.
I mean, this is where it gets so... From an outside perspective, people don't appreciate... If you're not in the martial arts sort of world, they don't appreciate what the gym means to someone. Because it's the difference between a trainer and a coach. It's that kind of emotional investment. Like, if you've had a fight camp with somewhere, it's not just you're going to the gym and sitting on the treadmill for half an hour. It's you're in there, literally blood, sweat and tears. You're putting everything into this. You're getting all these emotions through your training partners. It's not just the fitness of it. It's not just the mentality. It's everything. And to see that sort of... It's not something you can manufacture. It's something that's got to be genuine. So that's where this emotional connection comes from. And to see it sort of... I think crumble is sort of... It's harder to come back from in a sort of term. I'm going to use more of a decline that's going to pick back up again, that kind of structural thing. Because this is when you have that kind of relationship, as much as it's hard to distinguish between people who are cancelling for, practical reasons versus whatever intentions they have, you've always got to give it the benefit of the doubt that it's all just for, what they have to do. But the ones who can support and the ones who do support in other ways, you should be able to give every member of, give you that sort of confidence in yourself that, was it build it and they shall come, that kind of thing. They've got this support network. You've got these people constantly trying to motivate each other, get this morale. And like, if it was just you on your own saying, why is no one here? Then that's a different conversation. But if you've got all these people saying, we wish it was there, that should give you a bit more of a, reminder that what you had at that time is, a really substantial, to say it's got a lot of substance to it, that sort of product. And on top of that, it's then got that format to then build back on again. So I'll say it like it's gone. It's still there, it's just shut. But,
I mean, what I mean is a great saying. We are still open, we are still running, and the four walls in our studios in the academy is just a building. What we've done is taken everything from there, and we've just put it all online now, and that's how that's going to work. And what we're trying to do, which is what I believe, not just in martial arts, but in business need to do as well, is to add value. You give value, your members will see the value, and people will buy into it more. Such as your gym, I follow a lot of schools, up and down the country, because it's always good to to see what product knowledge is out there and see what they're doing. And I saw obviously what BST were to what they are now, to the sheer size of it. That's great, and that's inspiring for many other people, and that should be inspiring to those members. And that's what I think we've created now, is that people have actually seen, what we are doing for them due to this. I mean, I know some schools have just shut up shop and said, right, we ain't opening. That's it. You have to wait till we reopen. And they're not doing anything online, not engaging with their members, and that's the most important thing now. Everybody needs a helping hand. They need kindness. They need support. They need to know there's a shoulder to lean on, and that's it. And that's what we've done. Even my guys and my instructors are reaching out to some of those students that are probably more vulnerable, and just checking in with them. Just give them a little message, give them a phone call, a little text. How you doing? You okay? If you need anything, where we are, give us a shout. We're even doing one-to-one private classes online, would you believe, as well. We're doing about 15 to 20 of those a week at the minute as well as 50 classes.
You've got time for it, nothing else. I mean, but that is something that's so appreciated, is that kind of relationship. And again, this is where that substance comes from. That's where the whole... They miss it because it's not there. And the thing I was really concerned with when everything was being announced, on top of, the gym owners themselves, is the fighters who are used to being in that gym as their coping mechanism, as whatever else, full time, to then just take it off abruptly without that kind of... They weren't weaned off. They weren't, you can only go twice a week, you can only go whatever. No, it's just, okay, full time, then shut. Then what?
Bang.
Everyone's got this identity as a martial artist, as a fighter, or whatever they do. And then what? What happens when it's gone? Some people have to wait to retirement to try and work that out, but, when it happens abruptly in a blushing hot summer, and you're stuck
Well, it's
inside
become
watching
a
Netflix.
process, isn't it?
Mm.
It's a process in your life, isn't it? At the end of the day, this is the big thing. I mean, I take Brad for instance, and I know he's done his podcast with
Shout out,
you, and shout out to Bradley Owen, Mr. Bad Intentions. You take Brad for instance, he's a prime example, and this is one of the things that concern me, not probably concern me, but it's just in general for anybody who trains actively that needs that person to tell them what to do. And if you haven't got that person to tell them what to do, you have got to have the biggest self-discipline in the world. And how many MMA fighters, such as you said, people out there, athletes out there training, being told what to do, come into class, and then that regular check-in, why haven't you got your ass to class? Why haven't you been in there? Where have you been the last week? You know what it's like, because everybody's been there. And you get that, and once that moment, like literally it was literally like the hammer dropping, bang, that's it, shut doors, go. And it's funny, you're probably the same as me. If you follow on Instagram, you follow on Facebook, you follow certain fighters, certain athletes, and you see them putting the work in. Shout out to Joy Herbert. I know Joy from the early days, from Wolfpack, through John Ashley, all those early days. I follow Joy and the fantastic success he's had. And gutted for him he didn't get that UFC fight. Which is no doubt on the doorstep, ready for him. But you follow him, and he's putting pictures up of him smashing the bag in his back garden and his trainers. You know what I mean? And it's not the environment he wants to be in, but the self-discipline is absolutely critical and phenomenal, really. And likewise, I'm looking at Brad, I'm looking at Macca, for instance, those two from my gym. They're out there running, they're out there biking, he's in his garden training. Brad's been messaging me, can I take some mats from the gym and put them in my garden, and so forth. And I love that because that's forward thinking and being proactive. And I'm sure the biggest fear for me right now for MMA is once people come out of this, how many of those fighters have been active to how many of those fighters are going to be ready to compete, which then has a knock-on effect on how many shows are going to actually be able to put people, on shows to compete in. That's a real tough call for the market. That is tough call and hard for fighters as well, because they're going to kick themselves, those people that haven't been active. How about yourself? You been active, Dan?
Inconsistently. Like I started running quite a lot of shadow work, and then my knees started tweaking a bit, and then the podcast started, and then I don't know. The knees still not 100%. Still did a bit of shadow boxing, but been on a bit of a mad one with the that podcasting. But I tell you, there's a few things I wanted to pick up that before we move on to Switch. First of all, Jai Herbert. I met him at a Gold Ticket show, and he was an absolute gentleman. So shout out Jai. Also, this is something I wanted to bring up with you as a priority: is Brad's haircut. The fact he's now blonde. I wanted your opinion on this.
You know what? When I saw him put it up on Instagram that he'd lost the bet, or it was the bet to start with, I saw that, and then I know he's a big FIFA fan on his Xbox, and I'm not. To be honest, I'm not that way, but he is, and he put it out there, and then when he said he'd lost, I thought he ain't going to see that through, and I thought, you know what, me knowing Brad, he will see himself through. Once he says something, he will do it. He will do it. And then it came up, and I laughed. I was laughing profusely at my phone and thinking, oh, my God, it's a good job I didn't see you at work, mate. That's all I should say. And it's actually growing on me. We had a team meeting the other day, and I actually said to him, you ain't changed that hair, mate, because that looks good.
It kind of
He's getting a lot of ribbon.
It?
It does, mate. He's getting a lot of ribbon from a few members, Eminem, Jedwood, and all the rest of the stuff that's coming his way. But I think it actually suits him. I really do. So something's good come from it. He's up to training and he's got some kind of crazy haircut.
He should have gone for the Russell Post orange. So he should have gone for, I think.
Well,
that's
what?
The next one.
A lot of our members were betting him, and he'll be laughing if he listens to this because he actually commented in there. He said, "I would dye my hair orange if Russ shaves his eyebrows," and I'm not doing that because I look like an egg. I have no hair, full stop, mate. So taking my eyebrows off, they'll just be like just one expression, nothing else.
But is it worth it to see it?
I don't know, mate.
This is it. That wasn't a no. That wasn't a no.
I still have to teach virtual classes, mate. And I don't think I can look at the camera with no eyebrows. I really don't. And my kids won't look at me the same ever again.
You have to get a marker out and draw if you're happy or not. Like sort of really upwards ones, really angry ones.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. But yeah, no, I do think it suits him, and I think his first fight back, he needs to do that. There we 100%. Go.
So let's sort of turn the timelines a bit. So talk to me about your journey then. How did you get into martial arts in the first place?
Wow. Right. Okay. as a kid, I'd done kung fu, judo, karate, and I'm talking probably 40 years ago, probably 40, 35 years ago, something like that when I started as a kid. My mum and dad, and, bless their cotton souls, I really wish they'd kind of been a bit more enforcing in the sense that, I used to go to judo, get a bang on the head in judo, come home with a bib in their day and said, I'm not going there again, and just back out from it, and I wish my mum and dad said, no, go, and that's the thing, but they can't, they weren't. And anyway, I was just like, my venture into martial arts was, and this is ironic that I was quite late into martial arts, about 15, and I really threw myself at it. And I was going out with a girl for a couple of years, and I was getting a bit bored of the same thing week in, week out, seeing this girl, and I needed an activity to do. Wanted to look in for a basketball club. Why? I don't know. Couldn't find anywhere at the time. And I was just literally flicking through the local paper, and there was a credit card size advert in the corner. Remember where it was, positioned, everything. And I gave him a call, and it said Kidderminster Taekwondo, and I thought, what's that all about? So I phoned him up, and they said, come down Sunday. So I went with my girlfriend, walked down this ramp. I could see through the windows at the local leisure centre. The doors were shut, and I could see them all kicking and punching forwards, man, and kicking off. That looks pretty badass. I fancy a piece of that. And then I opened the doors, and it was about 6 inches out the doors. I thought, I ain't going in there. It's too embarrassing. So I shut the door, and I walked off. And I got about 10 feet away from the door, and the instructor at the time came back and said, oh, are you Russell? And I said, yes. And he said, oh, come in. And that was it. Sat in that chair, mate, and I was sold. I was absolutely sold. And just the vibe and everything. And to be honest, most people see me walking around and think, oh, look at him. He's full of tattoos. He's got a business. He's got this, blah, 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 runs a martial arts school. And to be honest, back those days, I was not a confident individual at all, mate. If I could stay away from something, I would, and hence why not going through that door. And that was it. So I started my Taekwondo. I did that. I got to my black belt, first degree black belt, and I made myself a goal. When I get to myself from my black belt, a lot of people quit at black belt level, and they really do. And they think that's the end goal, and it's not in my eyes. And I could talk another 25 hours about this, but I won't. But I really wanted to venture in other stuff. So then I ventured, carried on my Taekwondo training, started doing a bit of assistant teaching and stuff, and trying to learn that method because that was completely new to me as well. And then I started learning Thai boxing. I did Screamer, which is like full, I did at the time it was full contact stick and knife fighting, which was ace, loved it, and still do that to this present day. And then I did combat submission wrestling through Eric Paulson.
Paulson,
did that,
really?
Did Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, mate, yeah. I trained with Eric over in America, mate. Yeah.
Just drop that in there, okay.
Yes. Legend, mate. Absolute legend. What a bloke that guy is. A very, very underrated individual that people don't know about. He's one of those golden nuggets that's got some skills. And, I could talk about him for hours as well. And, and I did some Jeet Kune Do as well. And then I did some, you'll probably laugh at this, but most people do when I tell them about my experiences. I trained for about 2.5 years in ninjutsu as well. Only because I had a fad when I was a kid. I wanted the outfit and everything and the little tabby boots, the lot, but unfortunately, I did the ninjutsu classes, but I couldn't wear they never used to wear the uniforms, which I was gutted about.
What's the point, though?
They were a bit crazy, those classes were. Mate, they were crazy. You used to have to do a dive roll over like a 6-foot raised pole, and then you have to dive roll and grab a real live blade. It was
I want to do that. That sounds mental.
You know what? Mate, it was badass, mate. It was cool. You feel like the real life action hero of Kidderminster. But I used to train like 6-7 days a week.
Batman,
I used to train in loads. But it was I was like the assassin of Kiddie. But it was
Hitman.
But it was good fun, man. So I did that, and then I ventured into obviously the combat submission stuff. Took me into the MMA stuff. And I loved it, mate. I loved it. Trained in a few schools. Some of those schools aren't going around. And back in those days when we did it, there were probably a few fight shows, and I mean a few. Like Cage Rage was like the biggest back then. There was a fight show which is, I think, were based from Wales, Bristol area, called Anger Management. I don't know if you ever remember those shows.
Well, Cage Rage was what Cage Wars used to be, wasn't it?
I think kind of Cage Warriors is still running. Cage Rage is still running, but it's under, I think it's Dave O'Donnell. I think it's his show, which is called Ultimate Combat now. I can't remember. But
UCMA,
That's it, yeah. So that's the early days of Cage Rage. So there weren't many shows around those days. So a lot of people back then trained in MMA, but didn't fight in MMA, if that makes sense. You know, now it's like take your pickings. You know, it's like you can go every weekend, and it's almost got going to a zoo in it. You know, there's any show anywhere every weekend these days, which is ace for athletes, for up and coming and professional. But yeah, so that was that, mate, really. And then I still train now and then in different styles, and you know, but like I say, I've got some really big idols in my martial arts careers. You know, both my 2 instructors that I started with in Taekwondo, full respect to them, because if he hadn't have opened the door, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now, and I wouldn't have staff working for me and full-time centre and all the rest that I do. So, you know, respect to Steve Breakwell and Jane Breakwell back then. And then, like I say, you know, the people like meeting and training with people like Eric Paulison, if you get the chance, do it. The guy is just, it's just, you can absorb it, mate. That's all. That's all I should say. Incredible guy. Incredible guy.
There's quite a few things I want to get into with this. One is, are you available to do one-to-ones on ninjutsu? Because I want to try and do that. Get me spinning around the house.
I can do that.
So there's that.
We can do that as long as we wear the outfits, mate. As long as we wear the black pajamas, mate, we're good. On it.
This podcast is going to end abruptly, and we're going to get to on our pajamas, and we're going to play ninjutsu for a little bit. So thank you for tuning in.
That sounds so wrong, mate. So wrong that sounds.
And so right at the same time. But back to the actual question I was going to get to. So with so obviously when it came to Taekwondo in the first place, it was daunting, it was different, and all this stuff. You probably had your basketball thinking this is a bit different. But then what? So when you got stuck in with it and really enjoyed it for everything it was, what made you change martial arts at that point? Because it's almost, you know, this is what you found, this is what you like. What made you want to do something different?
I suppose for me, I always had the vision that I've got right now, mate, was to have a facility to offer multidisciplinary arts, because I totally get, you know, for me, I loved the fact, the speed. I mean, I used to fight for the Taekwondo British team, you know, where I had some great fights back those days. I used to love those days, really, truly. And, you know, they were great, but I knew there was other aspects that I wanted to learn and broaden myself. And I used to be a big fan, as most kids were, of Bruce Lee. You know, and I don't think there's any martial artist out there that really, you know, that's never been inspired by that individual. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, for me, I knew that he always studied this art and this art and this art and this art. And I always wanted to do as much as I could do, you know, and I've been the same with my music, and it's the same as I am with my martial arts. And I love Thai boxing. I must admit, Thai boxing was my first class that I did after achieving my first degree black belt in Taekwondo, and oh my God, what a shock that was.
Worlds apart.
Because, well, the thing is, you walk in and you've done 4 years worth of training to get your first degree black belt in Taekwondo. You're standing side on and you're on the bounce and you've got your hands down here. Next minute, this chopping kick comes and just trashes your leg. I remember having my father-in-law at the time having to come up and pick me up and drive me home because I couldn't drive the car home, so I couldn't use my left leg. I couldn't use the clutch because the guy shot me. It was proper old school Thai box, it was, mate. You know, and just chopped my leg to absolutely shreds, and that was it. But it really opened my eyes, and I thought, you know, there's elements I can learn from this. There's elements I can learn from this, and it's a little bit like a Bruce Lee philosophy for me, really, mate. You know, it's like, and that was it. You know, and then I started realising that you know, belts are really important for certain aspects, because you could use those as goals and you know, and targets such as grades. But then also, well, knowledge becomes sometimes more powerful than the belts and grades, you know. So you've got to kind of get a balance, and that's what I enjoyed. I was still getting grades in these arts, and I was still getting knowledge in these arts down here, and I love that. And I enjoyed the process of learning, mate. I enjoyed the process of meeting new people, and like I said, my vision was always to have a full-time centre. Always this was. And to teach, you know, X amount of, I mean, we teach like 15 different classes at the academy now, you know, and I love it because I've got students ages of 3 up to the ages of 67, you know, and there's something there for everyone. And that's what I believe that martial arts is a transport for everybody out there, to give somebody something, you know, as a release of that life. But yeah, that was my goal, really, just to do a bit of everything. It was hard to get the transition between this art and that art, I must admit. That was difficult.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because you touched on something there that's really important. I think lots of people need to appreciate this. Is it Hoist Gracie or is it Hickson, or one of them says, is the black belt only covers 2 inches of your ass, you've got to cover the rest of it yourself.
Yeah,
That,
that's
that
Hitchin
kind
Gracie.
yeah, that kind of thing of just like, you know, you need to remember it's not just what you know, it's how you apply it. It's that kind of, just because you've got that rank doesn't mean you are, you know, unstoppable, untouchable and stuff. Yes, it does take certain attributes to achieve these goals, but when push comes to shove, it's a very different situation. And again,
Yeah.
it's quite interesting your transitions between different martial arts and how the problem solving almost, that when you get into these situations, okay, not only have you had the approach to adapt to it instead of going back to what you knew, and then came with the MMA initially, because this is where I was trying to really get to, is because you've gone from the individual martial arts in their own rights and MMA as well, where I'd have imagined with all that background, you could almost pick out things you like of each and then have that one MMA system. But it's quite interesting how you still have all of these individual systems with it.
Yeah, tough, mate. You know, don't get me wrong. I know many people up and down the country because I talked to a lot of different school owners. You know, and they've done that. You know, they've took this, and then made their own art. I'm kind of a bit of a traditionalist, mate. You know, I'm a little bit. I don't want to disrespect Taekwondo for what it is, and I don't want to disrespect Thai boxing for what it is, and you know, and I don't want to disrespect MMA for what it is. You know, the big thing for me is, and this is the hardest thing for our building, is a lot of from our property and our ethos and everything that we've built up, is that, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, MMA can be seen as still in its current climate to the Joe Blog person out there, to an average mum and dad out there, can be seen as a thuggery art, you know, a thuggery sport, punch each other's face, rip each other's eyeballs out, blah, 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 you know, non-educated individuals, you know, and I get that. So what we try to do at our school is try and keep some traditional roots into the MMA roots, you know, but then not take away and diverse away from the MMA as what MMA should be, if that makes sense. But I never really wanted to try and siphon bits out of my other arts because, like I say, you know, I have so many different classes and everybody loves them and the classes are buzzing. So it's obviously it works, you know, and it's, you know, and also as well with that, on the flip end of that, you know, it's given some of my students opportunities to have full-time jobs now, you know, so it's which is lovely as well. And if I did narrow down what I did and simplify what I did, they probably wouldn't need a job, you know, because I'd only need 2 of us rather than 6 of us, you know, or 7 of us, 8 of us, you know, however this thing goes on and grows too as well. And it's nice as well, you know, I would say on another aspect of it is that it's nice, like some classes are busy, some classes are quieter, so the busy ones hold out the quieter ones and gives us a chance to grow. And it's a nice little game to play sometimes as well, you know, to try and grow your business as well, to be honest, and grow those classes.
I mean, this is where it gets quite interesting, is what you just sort of specified there about the way MMA is perceived and the way you try and present yourself as this kind of, again, open for all people. It's not meant to be just for, you know, the thug sort of fighters. It's not just for, you know, the family man. It's for everyone. And I think this is where it gets quite interesting, because if you show someone Ross Houston versus Nicholas Dalby in the Cage Warriors fight, got stopped because too much blood in there, it's hard to argue the case that it's a nice, friendly sport. Whereas if you watch I don't know, Mickey Gall and CM Punk in an absolute clinic of grappling and that kind of execution, you could argue it's a sport and it's, you know, it's got its own merits. But again, it's trying to keep things, what's the word? I want to say marketable, for lack of a better word, because you get things like the IMAF, and because this is where it sort of comes back down to is, at the end of the day, as much integrity as you've got as a martial artist, as a person, you still are a business owner. And as much as you'd like to have these specific things for specific disciplines and all this kind of stuff, you need to make it also applicable. And, you know, there's only so much time in the day. How many classes do you want to run? What's the priority? And all this kind of balancing act. So it's all trying to make it work as practically and as integrally?
Yeah. I suppose, you know, from my, like going back to my previous comment really was about, you know, MMA gyms and really try to engage those members and seeing members drop and fluctuate, and you need to be prompted to come into class. The biggest thing that I think, and I know they did try this, and I know Greg Jackson tried this, and I know he got absolutely slated for it about 5-8 years ago, something like that. And Century Martial Arts out in America, big, massive distribution company, they worked in conjunction with Greg Jackson, and he wrote an MMA curriculum. And I still think personally, and this is just a personal view, and everybody's got their own opinions, and that's what makes this world a lovely place. I still personally believe, coming from a traditional background, I do believe not a standardised, because everybody's got their own way in MMA, and that comes from two ways: one, the coach, and two, the fighter, because the fighter learns things at the same time as the coach learns things, and they can both input this together. But I think a nice quality MMA curriculum where adults and juniors can go through the system in learning quality, transitions to some boxing, some kickboxing, some takedowns, whatever it's going to be, and a fitness element to that. And if that was across the board and students have got things to work towards, I really do stand hand on heart on this one, that I think most MMA gyms up and down the country would be so much more engaged by their adult MMA members. And I'm saying adult members because, that's what sometimes they need. I mean, you've probably seen it yourself in either your recent gym or other gyms that you may have trained at. The numbers fluctuate like that. It's just like some days you have a busy class and other days it's like, boom. And you think, why is it quiet? Nobody's got the answer for that. It's just that some people, because, the big market in MMA is, from my side of things, is that you either want to train and you want to fight, and then you'll be in class more. Or you have the intentions of training, have the intentions of fighting, and you pay your subscription, but you can't be asked to go. And there's a lot of people like that.
That's that incentive, isn't it?
Same. Yeah, it is. And I think that's what I really think that the marketplace needs. And I know, like I say, Greg Nelson trying to bring this in and absolutely got slaughtered, over social media about it. And I don't think it actually pursued and went any further forward. But I think if a big brand could grab hold of it, even something like Venom or something like that could really sort of grab hold of it, got a couple of ambassadors on it, structured something together and just smashed it out there in the marketplace, I think, I have to say, loads of MMA schools. And right now, in the current marketplace, it would make a massive change for schools. I really do. It'll give them some security and it'll give their retention rate through the roof, to be honest. I really do.
Well, I've got quite a few points in this. I wanted to bring this up with you as well, obviously having the traditional versus the modern experience in martial arts, is when it comes to, if you take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grading, the ones without, if you take Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Gracie University, for example, versus,
God, here we go.
You see what I mean? Because you get these sort of spurious, they're doing things that a two-stripe blue belt can do, but when it comes to actually sparring, it gets a bit questionable. But then you also, on the flip of that, is you get people with a specific game who are at, say, your guard's like a purple belt level, but your passing's at white belt level. What does that make you? And then with MMA, arguably, if you've got like world-class striking and, say, takedowns, but your grappling is absolutely horseshit, then what? What does that make? Does that make you this belt and the other one? Because fundamentally, structural-wise, I get exactly where the principles are of trying to implement some sort of structured, okay, this is what skills you need to learn, this is how you can progress. Matchmaking will be a lot more, safer that way because you've got a rough idea of skill sets. But when it comes to when something so far outweighs another skill set, does it carry over? And then application as well. I mean, if you've got shit-hot striking, unbelievable grappling, impeccable wrestling, but they're two separate and you're not mixing them together, what does that then mean?
I mean, that's the whole idea about bringing some ambassadors in that can do it and structure it together. I totally get what you're saying in regards to grade levels. I'm a real, this world in martial arts of bickering and politics and that black belt's not as good as this black belt and this blue belt's not as good as this blue belt. My God, I'm a real. Here's a thing, right, Dan. Whether anybody wants to listen to this and take this on board, or whether yourself wants to take it on board whatsoever, there are so many people in this world that moan about each other, right? That moan about this person or moan about that martial arts school. This is my argument, right? This is my thing. How I take life is that don't waste your time moaning about them. Spend that time on yourself. The time you've wasted on them is the time you can invest on your own self, And these are the instructors that concerned of what this Gracie Jiu-Jitsu blue belt's doing, this Gracie bar blue belt's doing over here, etc., etc. And they're two different sort of kettles of fish, two different knowledge levels. You know what? Concentrate on this student, and you concentrate on that student. And it is very, very difficult to try and get a commercial balance, a technical balance, a knowledgeable balance, an integral balance. it's a real tough game. And I suppose I'm really looking at it from my perspective is that we brought in a youth MMA curriculum many years ago for our kids, because I see a very big fluctuation in numbers of the kids wanting to do it, but they had nothing to work towards. So we brought in a structure for that. And it can be frowned upon by a lot of people, but I'll be honest with you, Bradley teaches those kids week in, week out, and he is creating some absolute monsters. I'm telling you, monsters some of those kids are. You'll see them and you think, I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen the Instagram or Facebook footage that were going around social media, flying around social media, two little lads, Ryan and Mason Shingleton.
I have seen that. Yeah, because I was surprised to see it was a gym I actually knew, not some random gym in America, like some obscure, 10th Planet thing. But yeah,
man, I'm telling you something, right? That footage went absolutely. I remember filming it in the class because we set the kids a challenge. So, right, I want you to come with minimum of 30 combos because they're good. These kids are. They were good. They came with me from absolute scratch. From day one, they came to me with nothing. And, they come from an area in town that's probably, would be classed as probably not one of the best areas in Kidderminster. And these two kids needed some support and needed some help. And we've done that through them since day one. And they adapt to everything I teach them. They're like sponges. You show them something, bang, they've got it. And I said to them, right, give me a nice little flow drill, lads. I want 30 combinations, put it together, bam, 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 bam. Could be a bit of punching, whatever. And they love their grappling, they love their wrestling. So do this compo. And I remember standing in my gym just saying, sir, we've got something to show you. I said, yeah, no worries. So it shows them, hang on, let me get my camera. Bang, filmed it like that. And I put it out on Facebook on our page. Oh my God. I think the one view that some Brazilian jiu-jitsu place in Brazil grabbed hold of it, I think it had something like 3.7 million views, the video. Nuts. And then it flew across onto Instagram, and Eddie Bravo shared it. Randy Couture commented on it. Eric Paulison commented it. And it was just all these greats were saying, this is our future. And I was like, oh, they're our kids, they are. That type of thing. But those kids have come from some of the structure that we'd put together to help these kids through. And this is where I believe that, as an instructor, your instructors are the same as for instance, like Bradley, for instance, who passes on his knowledge. Everybody has a certain way of doing something. You have a different way of brushing your teeth the way I have a different way of brushing my teeth, and that's your method and that's my method. That's it. There's no difference of fighting. Somebody sets a jab up different to you, set a different jab up different to I would. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's beautiful about the fight game. But that's what I think that really as school owners, if you're teaching MMA, I think that's what needed in place for an adult, myself, because it's only going to make the adult more knowledgeable, better, a quality athlete, a better understanding, and it'll prevent the factor of when you go to these shows, and let's face it, we've all been there, and you sit there and you put your hands over your eyes thinking, what is that guy doing in there? Because he should not be fighting. But, he's just come from minimal background and he's just turned to his coach saying, am I all right to fight? He goes, yeah, go on, mate. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's Saturday. Yeah, just weigh in on Friday. This is the way. Do what you got to do. And let's face it, there's a lot of people out there like that. I'm sure you'll agree. A lot. Let's not go into it, but there is a lot.
But again, I find it quite interesting that there's almost two contradicting things, which is what's going to keep your development going the way it is. The fact that your willingness to learn, but your reluctancy to, deal with the sort of negative people who are just going to moan for the sake of moan, that kind of confidence in yourself, and also your willingness to change and develop. It's quite a funny back and forth, a pair of those things. Yeah,
it's good. It's it's hard. I'm sure like in anything in business, any martial arts school owner out there, that everybody moans at everybody, and businesses moan at businesses, And like I say, my early days of it, I really got sucked into it real bad. In Kidderminster, we're not a massive town, not massive population, but there are stacks of martial arts schools. As soon as I opened up, man, the hatred I had, you would not believe. People ripping my banners down, ripping my posters down, throwing my leaflets in the bins.
Really?
Oh yeah, mate, yeah. It's real bad. I had one guy when I first opened my first gym 8 years ago, went on my YouTube page, and the videos on YouTube were way old, and he was slagging them off, and literally put them on his Facebook page. Comment on this, guys. Comment on this, and he's got his own fan base, and they were all commenting and slagging it off, and I was just like, I don't need this, So I kind of stay away from it all now, and I just concentrate on myself. Let people moan, let do what they want, you know. And everybody's got their own beliefs, everybody's got their own visions and own futures, and I let them do what they got to do. If they want to waste their time doing what they want to do with me, that's cool, you know. And I'll use my time doing what I want to do on me and my students, and that's it, you know. And that's it, you know. And that's kind of like leads into really for me is that with Brad, you know, we took Brad on over 12 months ago now, full time. And, you know, I knew with him teaching, with me, restricted hours for what I can teach him in the sense of times that we've got to teach him, which is why I basically got a sponsor for him, and we invest in him, and we send him over to Renegade now to go and do his training over there, because I know the knowledge he's going to bring there is going to be greater for when he brings back into what we've got now, and it's going to invest back into our studio. So that's kind of our step for there, really.
Now, that is something I really wanted to touch on, is that willingness to... What's the word? Let him fly. let
go.
That's it. Because as much as it is, you know, I don't want to say he's your baby, because that gets a bit more in a bit of a strange analogy. But that kind of you invest your time and energy into someone, and you want what's best for them, but also, you know, he's your boy. You don't want him to then go somewhere else and be like, oh no, he's Renegades now, and that kind of maturity to then say, do you know what, this is what's best for you, with the confidence that will come back.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me, Dan, is that there's a lot of people, like I say, when they first come to me, you know, and they want to learn whatever martial art it is, we've got a lot of time to spend with them to create them and develop them. You know, for someone like Bradley, and, you know, and Macca's close behind snapping at his heels as well on this, is that, you know, we did what we did for Bradley because Bradley's, you know, is an investment for me, because, you know, he's an employee of the academy. He does a fantastic job with his teaching of his classes, and really for me is I've known both those lads since day one, and they came to me with nothing. You know, both of them would stand on a car park and have a scrap on a Saturday night, you know, after a few bevies if someone pushed the wrong button. You know, they're that type of lads, you know. And I know in Brad's previous, you know, he talked about other stuff, but he wasn't going to go into, but I won't go there with that. But I know he's that type of lad from, you know, that he, you know, and people are like that, or some people are not like that. And, you know, I'd seen what he's like when he first started. And I know when Brad sets his mind to something, he wants to go and do it. And I can see that the most sensible move to get into somewhere else to gain knowledge would be that. You know, the hardest thing that I have, you know, I work 14, 15-hour days, you know, running my business, doing what I've got to do, developing my business, etc., etc., etc. You know, and I can't teach all the classes no more. You know, I run out of time. I love teaching them. Don't get me wrong, I do love doing them, and I still have my certain classes that I do teach because I don't want to let go of that. But I just felt like there needed to be a release for Brad to go off and learn and be product knowledge and go off and what he does, and that's why I support that. Now, don't get me wrong. When I first started and we started crossing this bridge of people wanting to train elsewhere, and I'm sure you've experienced this yourself. If you're registered, let's just say, or located is probably the best word, at this gym, because that's the gym you started at, once you then go and fight, and you want to think, oh, I've seen all these big top professionals, they go training, they've got a boxing coach, they've got this coach, they've got that coach, they've got this coach. And they're really like about 2 or 3 years in the game, and you think to yourself, they don't need that. They've still got lots to learn with us yet. And then they can venture off and do that. This is my view, yeah? And I think it gets conflicting at an early stage, at someone's early stage of mixed martial arts career especially, in learning from different instructors. It's too conflicting. It's like being taught by one guitar instructor one week and then being taught by a different guitar instructor the next week. And they've got 2 different ways how to get this motion with your hand to go wherever it's got to go. And they have their method, and that's it, you know. And there's such a conflicting issues with it all, you know, with people having their own different methods, as I said earlier. And I think people need to be educated by their coach and instructor, who they are. And then once they're ready, and I struggled with letting people go. I really did. You know, I put my hands up to that. But with Bradley, we've realised it's a good thing, and Macca's now doing it as well, which I think is a good thing. You know, but it's just the hardest thing is obviously the younger ones or the inexperienced ones shouldn't follow their paths. That's my eyes. Stay located, stay educated where you need to be, and then venture afterwards. You know, and the levels that those two are at right now, Especially, Brad's got 3 more amateur fights in him, then he's going to go pro. He needs to be training with those people. That's it. Fact ass, and that's it.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. A few things you sort of touched on there is, as much as it is tempting to go to these places with all these professionals, without having that foundation, it gets almost too specific, I want to say. Like what you're saying with the guitar analogy is quite a good one. Like, you want to learn your chords first before you start doing all your sort of pinch harmonics and all this kind of other sort of fancy stuff. It's too specific. It's not... You build your foundation. Like, my instructor Danny Batten uses an analogy like painting a wall. It's like, you've got to get the first coat on, and then you can start doing more and more. Instead of just doing one specific patch really, really thoroughly, you've got to get the whole bit covered. Because boxing coach is a perfect example. I've had a few different boxing coaches, and how do you throw a hook? I've had that conversation, I think, how many times? I've done it wrong in front of everyone, apparently. You've got to have your hand there, and the other way around, and all this kind of stuff. And none of them are wrong, but they've all got their preferences. But until you develop your preference, understand your foundation with this kind of stuff, then you can start taking in this extra information and being able to use it and apply it. Because otherwise, you've got a piece from there, piece from there, piece from there, and it doesn't connect. Yeah,
what the whole idea of this, we're talking specifically a lot with the MMA brackets for me, is that I think it's pretty much, you can put this across the broad spectrum regarding any martial arts, but more so MMA. Such as you say there about the hook punch. Yeah, I've seen people, no, you need to turn the lead foot. No, you need to keep the elbow here. You need to do this, blah, 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 blah. All you need to do is to find the right person that suits you. That's it. That's absolutely period. There's no difference to a girlfriend, or boyfriend, whatever it is you're after, as long as you find the right person that suits you, that can educate you, that you feel comfortable with, that you can get an understanding, and your vision is their vision, on an amicable level, happy days. And then the other side of this as well is that, in the MMA side of things, and this is where I talk about Brad, and I'll talk about Macro on this, I'll talk about it from my side of things, is when those two lads fight, you also need somebody there who can literally say something and they tune in. You know what it's like yourself. You can have the most random lads from the gym to come and just sit in your corner, hold your water bottle and a timer, and just shout random crap at you. And at the end of the day, if you can't tune into that tone, it's no good. You might as well just have an empty seat. So, there's so many different aspects that we could chat about this that I'm quite passionate about, to be honest. And, that you're right, that I've been to martial arts seminars, mate, and I've been taught by somebody and they go, no, that's wrong. What are you doing that for? And I'm like, hang on a minute, mate. Reel your neck in a bit, kid. Have some respect for the person who just taught me, and that's how they do it. No one's right and no one's wrong in that sense. It's the same as, like, I say this about anything. I play drums, mate. And I play drums differently to the next person plays drums, and I'm not wrong, and that person's not wrong, but they've just got their style, and this is my style. And as long as you can find the coach, the instructor, whoever, who's going to tutor you through that process and understand you and blend with you well, happy days. That's it, mate.
I think the real thing to really take from all of this is the word art in mixed martial arts and martial arts. Is that it's subjective, it's for interpretation. You see, say a day one beginner, they see a hook as just a punch. The more experience you get, you see the finer mechanics of twisting motions, all this kind of stuff. But then different people see it as, if I change my wrist this way or change my weight this way, I can then do that and the other. And it's always different perspectives, and the thing itself hasn't changed. So the concept of being right or wrong doesn't make sense, because it's not an objective thing. It's subjective to opinion and interpretation. So this is where the whole thing gets so complex. And then on top of what you were saying as well, in regards to your corner people and this kind of thing, it goes back to what we were saying at the start about you build this relationship, you build this rapport. Like, when your coach tells you to fucking get on with it, that they're saying that from places. They've seen you spar. They've seen when you know yourself. They can tell when you're tired. You can tell when you've got more in the tank. You can tell when they're mentally beat. All these little things. When you pick that up, you can't just say it on a surface level. You understand this. You built this time up, built this relationship up. And this is why it's so specific, because like we're saying as well, regards of the right person for you, you could get, say, Greg Jackson, you can get all these high level coaches, but if you don't gel with them, that information won't transfer the same way. You won't get the same level of benefit from it. Whereas if you get I don't know, James Jitsu down the road, who's, you know, a good purple belt, but you really get on, and they have levels of detail, level of explaining things.
Yeah.
Even though the skill set may not be on par with, you know, the best of the best, if you can really absorb what they're saying and really benefit from it, you could have a lot more progression, like percentage-wise. You can go up so much more than you would with a quote-unquote better coach, just purely on what you can take from it and what you can apply from it.
Absolutely, mate. You know, I'm a real big firm believer of that, and there's no difference to, like I said before, relationships, even to the points of business coaches or work colleagues, mate. You know what I mean? You know yourself. If you work with someone and you're decent and you like, you'll be more productive. If someone that you don't like, you won't be as productive, and that's it. And if it's a relationship you don't really like and it's poisoned, then it's not going to last. And if you're with somebody who's going to be cornering you, and you don't really connect to them, but they are so knowledgeable. I mean, this goes back to the old thing for me. You know, when I taught many years ago, and I remember a martial arts guy saying to me, you know, you're either a fantastic fighter or you're a fantastic coach. And I remember that you said you need to make your choice. Which one are you going to be? You know, and that's it. And if you're going to be that coach, you've got to make sure you adhere to being a coach. And like I say, you're going to corner a team. You've got to make sure you corner them. You've got to understand them well, and you've got to understand their needs, and you've got to understand that person as an individual. I remember Macca's one fight that he fought. I can't remember the guy he was fighting, some foreign guy. He was fighting from France, I believe, and it was a golden ticket show. And I remember he come out the first round, and I remember going into the cage, and he was desperate to win this fight. And I remember going into the cage, and I remember looking at him in my face, and he was absolutely gassed. He was like, he said to me, I'm done. He said, I'm exhausted. And I turned around, smacked him in the face, and I said to him, shut up, listen to me now. I said, you're going to finish this round. And I said, this is your round, do it, blah, 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 you know, as everybody does. You know, you're in the moment, like that. And I think then 30 seconds in, bang, took him down, boom, rear naked, choked him, popped him, that's it, done. And he always says to me, I'll never forget that with him. He always say, I remember that. I remember you telling me that. I remember you shouting at me. And I remember Brad in his fight that he had against at the Golden Ticket Show when he won the belt, and he. I think he busted his foot up in about after the second round, and on the third round, I went into him, and I kept keeping him focused away from that foot, keep him on to here and what was what. And you wouldn't even know, mate. You could watch that fight back now. I still watch that fight back now, and you can watch that, mate. And he does not even blip about that foot, and he busted his foot up basically in the fight. But you know, once you can tune into someone right, then happy days. You know, you can resolve whatever you need to resolve.
And again, you can this comes from the relationship you build with these people, but. Yeah, the most important question I've got for you today is, where can people find you?
On Facebook, just Russ Perks on Facebook, or if you go onto our open page, we've got stacks of open pages, but our main page is just type in RPMAA, not RPMMA, but RPMAA. Also, just type us in RPMAA as well on Instagram. We're on there, or my personal page on Instagram, which is Russ Perks. Just search us for on there. Contact us there, or check us out on the website, www.rpmaa.com.
And where can they get involved with the online training?
If you check us out on Facebook, it's probably the best way, or Instagram. Just ping us a message on one of those. You can contact us there, and then we can get you started on some virtual training. Failing that, you can email us direct on info@rpmaa.com. One of the team will obviously come back to you then with all the relevant information there.
Links and all that will be in the description. Thank you for listening, guys. And this episode has been sponsored by Mauler MMA. Use code FCMMA20 at checkout on maulermma.com for 20% off on all products.